As we travel west to Germany, located in Western Europe with the northern region bordering the Baltic Sea, I recall many Vietnamese restaurants as well as Vietnamese people, especially in Eastern Germany, likely due to the former alliance between East Germany and Vietnam to the former communist Leninist USSR. In Germany or Deutschland, one may expect to find similar norms and values to the U.S. culture, which is true, yet there are also distinct norms and values, some of which bear resemblance to Ghana and Vietnam. A strong folkway is for people to keep time. People are expected to be punctual and meet scheduled time commitments. Thus, Germany is a monochronistic culture in which time is viewed as linear and exact. This young German kept his appointments on his Palm Pilot, on his cell phone, and on his computer. The mainstream value of time discourages a laid-back, relaxed reference to time. Here, time equates with money. A reference to God's time would be culturally deviant.
Time is a measurement of being a correct business partner. If you're not in time, then you're not trusted. And so time is quite important to people doing business in Germany.
The attention to time parallels the linear attention to rules or laws, which are many and always written down in German culture. The use of paper is nearly as great as in the U.S. These rules are the glue that cohesively hold the society together. One of these laws is the parental leave policy, in which a parent is entitled to a 3-year child-rearing, partially paid leave from work. After 3 years, the parent is guaranteed a job to return to. 90% of German parents take some form of this leave. In connection to the value of time and rules comes the value of work and activity. Especially in Gesellschaft living, people are busy traveling to various appointments and activities, not the least of which is work. Germans tend to value hard work and do work hard, although they work fewer hours than the average American, as they, by law, receive between 24 and 30 days of paid vacation leave per year. Even unemployment benefits, at 67% of your last year's income, can be granted for 1 year, and reduced subsidies thereafter if one has no savings in a bank account. Social welfare applied to all people is a value promoted by the government and pertains to education, jobs, housing, and much more. Although statistics indicate there is poverty in Germany, the government does much to assist people to move them out of poverty. I saw glimpses of poverty, mostly in East Germany, but certainly not to the degree of visibility in urban or rural America. Also, workplaces tend to have loyalty to their employees as layoffs are regarded as a last resort. Unionizing remains strong in Germany. Incidentally, prostitution is legal work in the red light districts of major cities such as Berlin, Munich, or Hamburg. In Germany, sex is more likely to be viewed as a pleasurable activity, not exclusively for procreation. The focus on work has been replacing the Puritan values of family and religion. Germany boasts the lowest birth rates of any industrialized country. Interestingly, Germans do seem to love their dogs, and many seem to consider them family. I read that dogs are the soul of the German culture. Divorce is a relatively accepted norm, as is cohabitation or living together. Single parents, both male and female, abound in the country. Especially higher rates of divorce exist in East Germany. Incidentally, it is a folkway for married people to wear their wedding ring on the right, not the left hand. Women are required to leave work 4 weeks prior to the delivery of a baby. They cannot return to work until 8 to 12 weeks after the delivery. Women are thus expected to stay at home with their young children. According to Birgit V. Effinger, a sociologist at the University of Hamburg, public child care capacities are limited, especially in comparison to the Nordic European countries. However, she emphasized that the laws in Germany provide more social welfare benefits for all families. Books are used to socialize and teach German children values and mores. Likely, this fosters a love for books and reading, which seemed evident amongst German adults. The traditional gender role for women was connected to church, kitchen, and children. Certainly, the former is neglected by many women and men in today's climate, as the Sunday Christian masses, namely Catholic and Lutheran, are poorly attended. Even immigrant populations are more likely than native German populations to maintain regular church attendance. However, by law, up to 9% of one's income can be paid as a church tax, which denotes some resilience of Christian values in the country. However, some opt out of this church tax. Sundays symbolize a day for closed business. Whether it is traditional, a religious observance, a soulful regeneration, or simply law, don't expect to go shopping on Sundays in Germany. Particularly, the Turkish population, the largest immigrant group in Germany, boasts regular practice of Islam. In addition, fertility rates of the Turkish population exceed the national average. Germany, in fact, is home to more immigrants than any other European country. A folkways in the country seems to be bilingual and multilingual speaking people. Deutsch is the official language, yet English, French, Dutch, Spanish, Italian, Russian, Arabic, and an array of other local dialects are spoken.
Yes, I speak fluently German, of course, English, Russian, and a little bit Czech.
Okay. Listen here to Bianca, a university student, discuss multilingualism.
I started learning English at the age of 11 or 12. And then after 2 years later, you could decide whether you want to learn French or Latin. And I took French. And then there was an additional course in a year or 2 years later, where you could also learn Italian or Spanish. That depends on the school and on the teachers that are in the school.
The indigenous population of Germany is the Sorbisch people. They predated the now German population. Although a small minority, some Sorbisch people still maintain their language. The folkways for greeting in Germany tend to be briefer than in Ghana and Vietnam. After being greeted with Morgen or morning, Guten Tag or good day, Guten Abend or good evening, or simply a hello, the next question may be, what do you do? Referring to your job. Questions about marriage, age, and family either come later or never in a formal or even casual conversation, and may be considered a violation of amore in some circles to ask about age or marital status. Initially, Germans generally give off a more stoic front than their Ghanaian and Vietnamese counterparts. Sometimes the stiffer front is felt when seeking services in Germany, as this acquaintance from Hamburg describes.
The Germans have a different perspective on service, that serving is a rather bad thing, and this might be caused by the catastrophe of the Second World War, and by a system where people were serving the government, were serving our great Führer, and this serving and not doing your own thing were actually leading into a big catastrophe. Therefore, people are very reluctant in serving other people.
Nonetheless, many Germans enjoy socializing with each other. I was told and even witnessed that many Germans, particularly the young, enjoy membership in clubs or groups such as sports or other hobbies. A greeting amongst friends or colleagues is sure to be accompanied with a very firm handshake or possibly a hug. Hear Rebecca's critique of a handshake.
I hate soft hands in my hand because it feels like a dead fish.
Speaking of fish, which may be caught in the Baltic Sea or in the many rivers in Germany, let us consider some of the food production and consumption norms in Germany. Staple foods include freshly baked bread, salami or other sliced meats, and cheese. For many, it is a folk way to eat these daily for any meal and to purchase them from specialized shops. Other common foods are apples, potatoes, wursts or sausages, pastries, and ice cream, which can all be purchased fresh. Traditional foods include beef stroganoff, sauerkraut, and potatoes cooked a variety of ways. While these may be consumed seasonally or more frequently in Gemeinschaft or village settings, In Gesellschafts, these traditional foods are being replaced with a cross-section of immigrant food habits and spicy menus from other countries. Many an Imbiss, or fast food restaurant, is available for eating out. It is certainly a folk way to begin the day with coffee, at home or work, and continue one's day with coffee. Alcohol and beer and wine are commonly consumed in German culture. The folk way for beer drinking includes a preference for a locally brewed beer. Several glasses of beer may be consumed in a setting, such as a beer garden in Berlin or Hofbrauhaus in Munich, where people may communally sit at tables with strangers and converse with one another, or not. Prost, not cheers, is a salutation used when drinking alcohol. I learned about the strict laws regulating the production of beer and its ingredients. Certainly, alcohol consumption may increase the likelihood to achieve Gemütlichkeit, the cozy, warm atmosphere, like being with your grandfather and he gives you some chocolate and you take a blanket and curl up with him, as defined by Mario in East Berlin.
Atmosphere, it's more atmosphere.
I think
it maybe you have a situation and you have enough to eat, you have enough to drink, and a lot of friends are there. But it's not. It must be not be Gemütlichkeit. For Gemütlichkeit, there must be more. Yeah, all must be friendly. The situation must be friendly.
Okay.
No problems. And then you
Kein
have the
Problem.
situation.
Kein Problem.
Keine Probleme. All people's feeling is good. And then you have the situation which we Germans say Gemütlichkeit.
Incidentally, smoking is very much a folk way throughout Germany, for women and men alike. In some households that I visited, wine, beer, or alcohol production was underway, if for no other reason than sheer entertainment. In this particular Gemeinschaft of Waldum in western Germany, the harvested grapes are converted into a communal village wine. The climate in Germany is far colder than Ghana and Vietnam. However, a salient norm in urban areas is the presence of large parks and lakes which may be frequented year-round. In the countryside and Gemeinschafts, one can easily walk or bicycle on a sidewalk. Patrilineally owned farmland is difficult to own in bulk. Rather, small portions for the male family members is the norm. Agriculture is only a fraction of the contemporary German economy. Recycling is emphasized and is practiced as a folk way. The use of plastic bags when shopping is not a folk way in this country. The norm is for people to bring in their own bags or boxes, lest one have to pay €1 for a plastic bag. Incidentally, in 2005, €1 equals 1.2 US dollars. Thus, the euro is of greater value than the dollar. Transitioning from the Deutschmark to the euro was difficult.
To give away the Deutsche Mark, which was supposed a very hard currency, was very emotional because this was the after Second World War currency. When we gave away our currency, as to my understanding, we said, okay, the euro has to be as hard as the Deutsche Mark, strong currency, and now, because it's a European currency, we mix it with all these weak other currencies. What happened in the meantime? Now our economy is weak.
Polluting on an individual level is discouraged and illegal. Despite regulations, industries certainly pollute the air with toxic chemicals. Amongst the many political parties is the Green Party, a viable and active political force in the country which emphasizes care and concern for the environment. Big business indeed competes with environmental groups. Germany maintains the second largest economy in the world, yet many Germans are fearful of losing their job. This and other worrying is considered by some authors to be a folk way in German culture. Unemployment fears are more founded in Eastern Germany, where unemployment rates can be as high as 20 to 35% of the population. Since the fall of the Berlin Wall in 1989 and the reunification with West Germany, the decline of state or government jobs led to a decline in employment. Incidentally, numerous references to Karl Marx were observed, especially in East Germany. University students also mentioned that the content in their general education would reference Marx or Durkheim or Weber, three sociological greats. Similarly, the great musicians such as Bach or Beethoven and many more have their streets too. The largest export out of Germany is the automobile. BMW, VW, Mercedes, and many more. It is a more common folk way to see Germans driving smaller cars than in the US. Bicycling or the Bahn train system are popular forms of transportation in urban and rural areas. Stretching to some of the more remote areas of the country, this ingenious rail system was created in the 1930s as a mastermind of the Third Reich during Hitler's reign as part of the final solution and genocide of Jews and other marginalized groups. I met many middle-aged Germans who possess a bit of guilt complex over atrocities committed during World War II. Although mildly educated on these atrocities from their school trips taken to the extermination and concentration camps, younger people seem less likely to possess this guilt complex. In fact, the many young people I spoke with exhibited great tolerance and respect for diversity. Some countercultures of neo-Nazi groups seem to exist, yet they are a clear minority. It is a violation of a law to buy or sell Hitler's biography, Mein Kampf. In addition, patriotism is not a strong value in Germany. Young people informed me that blind patriotism led to the atrocities committed during World War II. Similarly, it is not a folk way to see flags waving in public or even at schools or in classrooms. In fact, some consider this use of flags in American culture to be borderline immoral, again connecting the German blind faith in a flag that led to the genocide of Jews, immigrants, Jehovah's Witnesses, political dissidents, gypsies, communists, gays and lesbians, and physically and mentally challenged people. In contemporary Germany, great tolerance exists for gays and lesbians throughout the country. This coincides with the sexual liberation and freedom that is valued by many, especially men. The basic law of the German Constitution states that education, from kindergarten through university, is free for all. Education is regarded as a right, not a privilege. Kindergarten, literally meaning children's garden, may begin by age 3. Listen as Bianca explains the choices involved in the German educational system.
Our educational system starts at the age of 3 with the kindergarten, and kids go there until they are 6 years old, and then they go to Grundschule, that's kind of elementary school, and they go there for 4 years. After that, they have 3 options of schools where they can go. They can go to the Hauptschule, which is for additional, I don't know, like 4 years.
That's what you told me.
And or they can go to Realschule, where it is for additional 6 years, or they can go to Gymnasium, that is for 8 or 9 years. And after you finish school, you have the possibility to go and work for a company and go to school. We call it apprenticeship. It's kind of a dual education system where you work in a company and you get paid by the company, and 2 days a week you go to school and learn your job on a theoretical basis. When you finish gymnasium, you can go to university.
Women and men have high rates of admission into universities throughout the country. Still, women are not well represented in politics, nor are they well represented in the upper echelon of the business world. Finally, the images of the convergence of the U.S. with Germany included repeated political references against the U.S.-led war or occupation in Iraq, as well as outright opposition towards President Bush. Surely there are Germans who support Bush or the U.S. occupation, but in my travels, I did not meet those Germans. One man in Nuremberg expressed his opinion about the war this way: just because you can use a hammer to hit everything does not mean it should be used that way. Still, the attitudes of Germans towards the U.S. are generally favorable, although many reference their concerns of American materialism and hegemony. Even Michael Moore, the producer of Fahrenheit 9/11, was endearingly referenced many times by Germans in friendly conversations. I found many Germans, but certainly not all, to be interested in politics, and a sizable anarchist subculture exists in cities like Hamburg. Certainly, there is overlap with the anarchist and various punk subcultures in Germany. Certainly, punk music and culture oscillate between the US and Germany. Similarly, the graffiti in Hamburg has had a symbiotic relationship with the graffiti element in North America. The rap and hip-hop music industries have certainly affected the youth culture in Germany. I met a young man dressed in hip-hop attire listening to Nas in the small city of Baden-Baden in West Germany. Shockingly, while traveling on the Bahn, I caught a glimpse of "Straight Outta Compton" inscribed on a wall in rural southeast Germany. I observed shoppers inside. Walmart, however, protest accompanying the opening of this American discount store. Pharmacies or apothecaries are the typical source of medical healing, similar to mainstream norms in the U.S. I even saw an American Indian teepee in Freudenstadt, a small town in West Germany. Here I met various Indian hobbyists who seemed to idolize the indigenous way of living in the U.S., which is a bit ironic considering the history of German Americans with the indigenous populations in Middle America. German Americans such as myself sometimes travel to Germany to learn something of ancestral roots. 2, Germans, if they have the money, can easily travel to the U.S. to experience the U.S. culture. In conclusion, it is my hope that upon viewing this film, one can begin not simply to learn about norms and values in distant countries, but also the influences that American culture has on them, as well as their contributions to the multiculturalism of the U.S. Finally, it is hopeful that the viewer will also gain better insights into the American culture, simply by having the point of sociological comparison to other cultures. Are you the fish who might be unable to notice the water?